Hi, this is IHSAHN and you're watching Loud TV. It is a self-titled album. It's rather after the fact that people like, oh, this is a pretty bold statement to do a self-titled album. For me, it was not really that much about that. It was really a matter of I wanted to do something very from the core of what I do, and the way all the conceptual aspects of the album really didn't lend itself to one title. So it just wanted it to be self-titled, and I guess in some ways it builds on, I can't say necessarily strengths, but like two of the parts that I have most experience with, I guess, from my very early beginnings, trying to combine extreme black metal with soundtrack-like orchestral elements. That was the core idea. So I just wanted to take those two elements and on a personal level just raise the bar for myself, to keep myself very excited and learning and expressing through the whole process. I think all my albums are equally personal, but this is on a personal level, just subjectively to me, this is by far the most complicated but also the most rewarding album that I've ever done, and I've been extremely excited about the process of making it. And that was part of the challenge, even from the beginning, as how to combine this, these elements. And I said, like, I would take it to the extreme, for again only talking from my unscholarly DIY approach to this. But I wanted to try and write almost like a soundtrack inside the metal production, in a way so that they would function together and separately. Hence, the duality of the release in a sense, where releasing it as the full thing, but also the orchestral parts, on their own, which was much harder than just writing orchestral part into the music. But in a way so that they would function individually, but also to try and explore the same music with different dynamic and emotional impact. As of course, since they're parallel, all the music is the same. It's just expressed differently, and dynamically different. So. That was part of the goal, to try and explore a deeper emotional perspective, I guess, on the same music. If did that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah.
It makes, all this stuff makes sense in my head, but I have no idea how it translates. That was part of, I wanted to learn, It's really hard work, but that's why part of why it was so rewarding. I learned so much from doing this. And there's no cheating, so there were no ensemble patches, everything is written so that I could literally, hand over the score to an orchestra and it would be playable as is, so it's like old school orchestration for orchestra. Yeah, but it's like the first single that I just dropped, Pilgrimage to Oblivion, probably the hardest song on the album, and it's really fast, heavy guitars and really fast blast beat drumming. But if you listen to the orchestral part, version of that song, it's much more intense and like low velocities, like these tremolo cellos, and it's more eerie Whereas the metal version is like really in your face. This is more like creeping and horror-like, so it's a different feeling from the orchestral version than the metal version. I think that was the intention anyway. Yeah, maybe subconsciously. I mean, I think playing live, it taps into a lot of the kind of core energy of the music, rather than, because when it's loud and there's an audience and there's a PA and there's lights, it's kind of a different experience than listening to details in the studio. So I think it's very important to have this kind of physical connection to the energy of this style of music that might be lost if you're just spending all your time in the studio. But I think for the most part, some people have heard the album have kind of made that reference that it sounds more like Emperor-esque in that sense. But I think that more comes from my intention to kind of focus in on these two elements, since those are with the orchestral and metal things. Since that goes back from the very beginning for me. For sure, and I think we're all inspired by our surroundings, and where I live is has a very kind of cinematic landscape, and with in my private time there's a lot of trekking with dogs and everything, so I spend time outdoors every day in the forest, trekking, and a lot of ideas for lyrics or musical ideas come from walking, for sure. So, definitely.
So nature is a good inspiration.
Of course, and just the quiet, that it's almost meditative. I think, especially this may be particular to dog owners, but walking dogs, there's there's always some focus, going forward. You need to keep track of there's the practical element, so it's you don't get caught in too complicated thought patterns, because there's always a focus in front of you. But at the same time, it almost links into this kind of flow state. So it's not a big surprise that a lot of people get ideas when walking, I think. Yeah, and usually, ideas come when you least expect it. When you sit there and stare into the blank page, that's there's so many other psychological things that happen that can be very, preventing you from creating something. And there are. I've always been surprised almost when I finish a project and kind of look through my notes and see how many lyrical ideas just started on my phone when walking in nature, or musical ideas, guitar riffs or whatever, recorded on my phone just from me having changed strings, like in some random situation where you're not supposed to create, and then it flows in. Yeah, continuously. Yeah, that's the downside. That I've had the privilege of doing like guest lectures, for some music institutions, and young people wanting to do what I do, and I always emphasize that it's a huge privilege to be able to do music, but also, I've been doing all these albums, and it doesn't get any easier. Every time you have to start over on a blank page, and there's always, huge imposter syndrome. You feel like you've kind of cheated your way here, and now people will just know that you're useless. You know, it's the same process over and over again. Blank page. What artist wasn't? You know, it's that's what you realize having done this for a while. That we all kind of gravitate to these archetypical, you know, universal human feelings, you know, through art, whether that is, you know, visual art or music or poetry or literature. You know, it's love, loss, death, tragedy. We all experience it, and it's through art that we get to learn and, you know, be connected in these things that we can't put words to, but we all know. That's how I think we feel when you can listen to a song and you feel you can put your own story into that song even if you didn't write it. You know, it's these kind of underlying universal experiences that we get to share, and in some ways art can prepare us. You know, even if you're young and haven't had all these experiences in your life, if you have that in the music that you experience as when you're young, you know, I guess in some ways it can prepare you for that, and also all these questions, you know, that we have.
Metaphysical.
Yeah, the metaphysical. You know, that's what we all deal with, and we all try to interpret it in our own way, and so for sure, you know, it's why wouldn't I, as a young teenager doing this kind of music, be concerned with questions of death? I would say that there will be a time where you all your wishes to not care about all the noise. At some point, it will happen. All the disturbance of what people think, you know, insecurities, you know, at 40 it will all fall into place. It's sudden, you know, at some age, at some point in one age, you know, a certain age, it just falls into place and you really don't give a shit anymore. I have to pinch myself, you know, it's yeah, as I've said many times, I've been doing a full-length album every second year since I was 16, you know, and I've had this life in music, and I've managed to balance that with having a family and everything, to, you know, not exaggeratedly touring, you know, an incredible luck of finding that balance, and still being here, you know, so many years later, so many albums later, being honestly extremely excited about making new music. You know, so proud of the album that I just finished, and learned so much in the process that I'm already super excited about making the next one. You know, so unbelievable. The older I get, the more, you know, the realization of gratitude, you know, to for everything that I have in my life, it's more and more apparent. Yeah, the Promethean spark. Yeah, it's again, you know, as in so many other kind of old mythical stories and everything, but the Greek mythology, you know, holds so many of these archetypes, and it's become, you know, a very natural resource of symbolism. You know, the sacrifice for bringing this fire into the world. You know, the inspiration, the you know, the fire in itself. You know, it's destructive and so vital. You know, for our existence. If you know, there's so many things to it, and it's the beautiful thing about using some of these like very classic mythological figures, and this album is full of it. You know, it's again, it opens up for there's some core metaphysical, you know, energy in there that everybody can relate to, but in their own, you know, interpretation and their own way. That's why they're so powerful, I guess.
I was thinking about Prometheus and make an analogy with the internet, you know?
Oh.
We bring internet, and it could be for the best, but most of the time it's for the worst, you know?
That's something that has puzzled me too. You know, the internet, with how it's kind of given all this knowledge to everyone, you know, regardless of class or even you know, financial situations or where you are in the world. Everybody can have access to all the knowledge, you know, and then people spend their time talking shit about everybody else and watching stupid cat videos. You know, it's really what you do with it. You know, it's what can be constructive and destructive at the same time. It's all about the choices we make, isn't it?
This is humanity.
This is humanity, for better or worse. And I think the internet, in that regard, is it's a very honest mirror. You know, because everybody can be anonymous. And then you see the true nature of what people really are.